Hello, everyone. By now, you should be on Schoology, and we're going to move from creating assignments in Schoology to creating assessments. Uh, what you'll want to do first, if I were you, I would split my screen so that I can see this presentation and your Schoology page at the same time. The way you do that is you grab this, move it over to the side, and it'll snap to the side, and you can watch my presentation here and follow along on your Schoology page over here. So what I would need you to do first is at the top here, click Courses. And since it's summertime, you can't see any of my courses because they're not active. If you have the same problem, you'll hit Browse, and then My Courses. Once you get to here, since you don't have any current courses since it's summer, you're going to click Archived. And here I want you to pick one of your sections. For me, it's going to be Government. Now, in order to create a Schoology test that students can take online in Schoology, what you're going to do is click Add Materials, and then Add a Test or Quiz. Now this is going to automatically make a grade column in your grade book in Schoology, and it's going to pop up this Creator Test or Quiz. This is very important to make sure that you get right. If you do mess something up here, it is possible to go back and change it fairly easily, but it does create a sense of panic whenever all your kids take their test and it doesn't show up in your grade book or their grades aren't there. So we're just going to make a test called test. You're going to want to leave this at SD 129 plus or minus scale, and then assign however many points your test is worth. If you have categories in your gradebook, make sure you select the appropriate category. For me, it's assessments. If you go off total points, and that's not extremely important to you, but if your students take a look at their pie charts, or if you are going over how they're doing on each different category in your class, that's important also. This will automatically go to semester 2 for you. It'll say no grading period right now because we're in summer. I'm not going to select this right now because it could mess up some of my students' old grades and they'll not be very happy with me. And then we come to the part where some teachers make mistakes. Now, if I'm going too fast for you, please feel free to pause the video, call me over in the classroom, explain something to you. Feel free to pause as often as you want and rewind. And I would say that this part is one of those parts where you might want to stop, rewind, and listen again. The availability and due dates is something that you want to pay careful attention to. Availability simply means when students are able to see this under your materials in your Schoology page. This is not that big of a deal. If you don't want students to be able to mess around with looking at the test, you can make it so that it only appears on test day. If you make it for today, like I'm going to, students can see that there's going to be a test in your section. However, they can't see any questions or anything because we will disable the test so that only the teacher can see it, not the student. So what I'm going to do is hit create, and it's going to pull up a blank questions sheet for me. What you'll do from here is you'll add questions. Okay. Schoology currently supports true or false, multiple choice, ordering, short answer or essay questions, fill in the blank, or matching questions. We're not going to worry about these things down here. I know I was tempted to click import test or quiz. It doesn't work quite exactly how you would hope it would work. So you're going to have to go through and retype all of your questions. So I'm going to show you first how to make a multiple choice question. Because that seems to be the most common type of question that we get in these sessions. So you click multiple choice, and then it's going to bring up a few text boxes for you, and it's pretty straightforward. So what you'll do is you'll type in your question, what is Schoology? Okay, and then from here, you'll go down to and put in your foils and your correct answer. You can make it whatever you want. Obviously, you would have an actual foil and an actual right answer here for the sake of time and simplicity, I'm just going to make mine A, B, C, or D. The nice thing here is if you forget to click a correct answer, you'll hit create question, and it'll remind you that you have to have at least one correct answer. So we'll say my correct answer is A. Now, the thing I like most about having a Schoology test as opposed to a paper test is that you can randomize choices. So if you're the type of teacher that is worried about academic dishonesty on your test, like we all are worried about that, you can click randomize choices so that it'll randomize which student sees what choice or what foil or correct answer for each choice. So my test might say A, B, C, or D. Yours might say D, C, B, A. And it'll keep randomizing for each student so that hopefully the students sitting next to each other will not have the same answers in the same places, so that even if they were to attempt to cheat off of each other, it wouldn't work because these questions are all in the answers are in random order. A couple other options you have on this page. If you have questions that answer if you have questions that might answer other questions in your test, you can make this into a timed question. So for example, if I had something about a question about the Middle East and oil, and in the question for number one, I had something about oil, and the description of this question actually answered another question in my test, I could make this a timed question so that students couldn't see this question once they answer it and they move on to the next question. I typically don't do that because I don't have that problem a lot. I know a lot of teachers in science have that problem. A lot of teachers in English have that problem. So that is an option for you. One thing that I do like for Schoology tests is I have a lot of students that require test reading in their IEPs, but they tend to not take it because they don't like being singled out, or they don't like having to leave the room to go get a test reader because they get embarrassed. So what I have done for all my tests is make an audio or video recording. All you need to do is click this button, and it will pull up an add recording button. Now, what I've noticed for this is if I go any further, it'll mess up my screen capture. But more or less, all you do is click audio, and then there's a little red record button, and you'll see your voice come up on the screen. All you have to do is read the question to your computer, and the students can hear what you read to them when they take the test. All they need to do is bring headphones. I tell all my students that if they feel like it would help them, they're welcome to do it whether they have an IEP or not, so that no student feels singled out. And I think that's a great feature that Schoology adds for their tests. So we're going to go ahead and click create question. Now, also, I forgot to mention, you can add more choices. So typically in social studies, we only have A, B, C, or D. You can create more choices. If, for example, I have a lot of students who require that they only get 3 choices instead of 4, you can remove the blanks so they only see 3. However your test is laid out, Schoology can more or less support whatever you have in ways of tests in your PLC. So create your question, and here we go. If you happen to get a few questions out of order, you can click reorder, and all you do is simply move this up or down. I'm going to show you a few things now for settings that'll make your test day a little bit easier. If you'd like to pause right now and go back and create more questions in your sample test so that it applies more directly to your classroom, to kind of play around with the different types of different types of questions you can add, anything like that, feel free. I'm more than happy to come around and help you out. If you would rather see more about the testing settings, you can keep watching here and then go back and start adding questions later.